Today I'll have the privilege of spending time with one of the authors who was in the Quip Corner in April. And he'll be sharing a sliver of his book, which relates to everyone, but will be zooming in on men. So please join me in the Quip Corner. Welcome back to the Quip Corner, Brett.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, I enjoyed your last visit. So as I was thinking about Father's Day, I know your book is about navigating everything, parenting, but I was like, I'm sure he has something for fathers.
Yeah, I mean, I have an entire talk for fathers called Men Navigating Everything. I love that navigating everything kind of idea, just because there's so much to it. But in that talk, I talk about 8 things that we as men need to look at, like physical health, mental health, spiritual health, marriage, parenting, finances, sex, sexuality, which would include pornography and loneliness. But I mean, one of the biggest of that, I think, would be mental health, which is also another full talk that I have. But I think it's a huge conversation.
Yeah. Mental health is truly a big thing, especially with the lockdown, lockdown lifted, and people are just going through all sorts of things. And some men have been raised to know that men don't cry. And so people just bury that mental health issue, the mental health issues they have.
Yeah.
So, as we celebrate Father's Day, I'd be keen to know what your message would be to men and, how do men deal with these things?
Yeah, I first think it's important always to have good terminology. So if you think of 2 axes, one up and down and one sideways, the first one is mental health. And you can have good mental health or you can have poor mental health. And everyone has mental health, just like everyone has health. When you hear we have poor mental health during COVID, this is this axis. It's not like there's a growth in schizophrenia, bipolar, like that's not changing. Now, long-term poor mental health can be kind of an impetus for mental illness, which is the other one. And that's actually what I have. I had a breakdown 8 years ago, and I struggle with anxiety, depression, and panic. But mental illness on the other axis is kind of there's standard criteria for those, right? You go to a psychologist, a counselor, and that's where you get those labels for those things. But I always say, I can have anxiety, but I can still have good mental health while I struggle with mental illness. It takes a second to think through that. But to go all the way back to your first thing of what to say, it is interesting. I do think we all struggle. There's many of us. I mean, the number one thing I hear when I travel is, I've never heard a talk on mental health in the church. But men seem to have another layer of stigma and shame for that. Yeah. And often I hear men say to me afterwards, they're like, will you struggle with this? And I'm like, I do. And there's this connection of, well, if you struggle, it's okay for me to struggle. So first, it's just being open and sharing. Like, it doesn't make me weak or any of these things that men think. I have an illness, just like someone else might have diabetes or cancer. I have an illness. Yeah. Now, what do you do with that? And I really love, I don't know if the term is pragmatic. I want structure. And I love body, mind, and soul. Meaning, I don't know, if we're on a Zoom call with 40 people, I can't go, okay, top row, you 3, next row. I can't look at you and say you struggle or you don't. And this is where good assessment comes in. And you kind of do these 3 rows at the same time. So the body, go to a family doctor, see if there's anything actually wrong with your thyroid, or, do you have anything wrong physically with you? But also eat better, sleep more, exercise daily. I mean, the Bible is filled with these analogies of the physical kind of self. While we're doing that, the middle one is the mind. And this is everything from, reading good books. And I think the big one in this would be counseling, where we sit down, and seeing a counselor is a great thing where we can get some ideas of how to cope better. If I was physically speaking at your church, I actually sit in a chair, which people always think is weird. But for me, I'm 6'6". You can't tell that from this, but I'm a big guy. And my anxiety manifests as dizziness. So if I'm standing at the front, I begin to kind of sway and get dizzy. But if I sit down, I can do that. And these are things counselors can help you walk through. So body, mind, and our faith. And I always say this, our issue might be physical. Our issue might be emotional, but I don't say our issue might be spiritual, because it's incredibly rare that the answer to mental health is in our faith, but it's the foundation from which we journey this. Meaning God says, you will have trouble in this world, you will have suffering, but I'll be with you in that suffering, which is why our faith is really important. And that's why it's great that we let our pastors and leaders know that we're journeying, so that they can be journeying with us. And so I love that analogy of body, mind, and soul, because it gives us, and this is for men and women, but it gives us, especially as guys, something to begin to journey through.
Yes. Wow, that's quite a bit to unpack. And, you know, you start off with the stigma for men. And as I celebrate Father's Day and I think of different fathers, it's almost like you must be this big, strong, unmovable, you know, stable, forever type person. But knowing that there's nothing wrong with accepting you have some issues and doing something about them is definitely, in my opinion, a sign of strength.
Yeah. I forget who said it, but someone once said, if you choose to not do anything, you choose to stay where you're at. And so there's something about modeling, especially as a parent. So my kids have seen me go through this journey, and I continue to go through this journey. And they see me going to counselors, going to doctors, like kind of walking through that, which I think gives them the permission when they have journeys to do that as well. And so there's something about, to me, I actually see strength in not just like a bravado of, look, I'm fine, but I'm not okay. And it's okay to not be okay.
Not be okay.
I think it was Perry Noble who said, it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way. And so there's strength in saying, I'm not okay, but I'm going to look at overcoming this. And how do I do that? And who do I need to kind of get on my team? I always use the Home Depot, their line, you can do it, we can help.
We can help.
Like, how do we, so if you're like, I don't even know where to start, this is where we, like, the first two people we talk to always is our family doctor and a pastor, clergy, I mean, whatever terminology we use. And so it's important that we as leaders in the church know more answers beyond pray more and read your Bible more, which are good things, but they're not the answer to someone with mental health. And so it's knowing where to hand off to other people, you know, doctors, counselors, other people who can walk people through this. But I think that's a strength, showing and acknowledging, I'm not okay, but I'm going to get better.
Exactly. You know, it definitely takes strength of character to want to be better than you are, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we started off, we talked about how, you know, the bits of this that we see in your book. You know, can you point us to some of the chapters in your book that's possibly talk to this, you know, maybe not just for men, but.
Sure. So in my book, it's hard to see, but at the bottom are all the topics, and there's 16 chapters. The first 6 are literally parenting, like a progression of parenting. What does parenting, what does it mean? Communication, discipline. But the last 10, and at the very beginning, I talked about those 8 categories for men, like 7 of the 8 are actual chapters in this book. Things like parenting, finances and education, sexuality. There's actually a chapter on pornography and on sexuality. The last chapter of the book is loneliness, but mental health is the largest chapter in the book. It is not only is it my journey, but it's looking at how do you help yourself, and then how do you as a parent help our kids, and that would kind of be our loved ones and friends as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's helpful to know. So people know that, oh, well, getting this book, you're getting a whole lot with it, not just for fathers, but, you know, for the whole family.
Yeah, the last 10 chapters are not, the first 6 are written to you as a parent specifically. The last 10 are actually written with language that, like, I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old son. I could actually hand them the book. Yes, it says parenting on the front, but the chapter on dating, the chapter on mental health is written to anyone, but there's parenting tips throughout it, right? Just because it is still for parents, but anyone could read that and get some, kind of a spark to begin moving towards hope and healing.
Yes. Thank you. That's helpful. And you've said this before, but where can we get copies of your book?
So you can get it off my website. That's just brettullman.com for Canadians. The only problem with that is it's not a little book. It's a thick book. So it's $15 of shipping. So people can get it from me, but if you're an Amazon person, you can get it off Amazon Canada. If you're in the US, Amazon.com, or any other bookstore, like the Chapters and the other ones. It's basically anywhere these days. And there's a Kindle version. And what's the other one? Kobo, like the digital versions.
Okay.
They're there as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. So people can get ebooks as well. That's good to know. Sure. Okay. So we'll put that information in the description box below this video. That's so wonderful. As we draw this, thanks. So as we draw this to a close, what message, I know you've dropped, little nuggets as we've gone along, but what message would you have for men and fathers as we celebrate Father's Day?
Wow, there's so much I could say with that. I would just say, I would actually repeat the Home Depot one. You can do it. We can help. I love that, because for some of us will be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. And this is where, if we don't know what to do, we talk to people in our small groups, people in our church, our friends and our leaders, and we look at how we can get better in that. And so no matter what area of parenting, no matter what area of like mental health and others, I just encourage us to be moving forward. Like there's a book called The Power of Moments by Chip and Dan Heath. And, I hope this is one of these moments that kind of sparks you to say, I want to be better at mental health for me, for my family. And so that's kind of the idea. How do we spark something under you today for that?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks again for joining me in the Quip Corner. I look forward to... If anyone has
any questions, you can find me on my website as well. Please send me any questions.
Super. Thank you. I appreciate that open invitation. So once again, we'll put the website below this video so people know how to get in touch with you and also get a copy of your book.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Every time I chat with Brett, I learn something new. I didn't even know about the X and Y axis thing about mental health. Did you? Well, like we both agreed in the video, strength is shown in reaching out for help when you need it. I like the quote he referred to. It's okay not to be okay. What's not okay is staying like that. So, celebrating fathers and, of course, encouraging them to be strong enough to reach out for help when they need it. Well, there is no end to the celebration of fathers. So just keep watching. You'll enjoy the next couple videos. Bye now. Yes, the celebration continues.